Hello and welcome to the first edition of Journalist Hangout this week. I am Kemi Fola Adeyemo. Let's use this moment to say Happy Children's Day to Nigeria. Today on the program, Nigerian military loses 4.8 billion naira worth of weapons to insurgency in the northeast, and that's since January. 51 APC senators, 191 representatives signed for Lawan Gbajabiamila to head the 9th National Assembly. Later on the show, Governor Masari approves death penalty for cattle rustling, kidnapping in Katsina. I'll be hanging out today with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Wale Adeoye and Ismail Omipidon. Journalist Hangout starts now. Gentlemen, you're all welcome to the show today. I'll begin with you, Babajide. It indeed smacks of a costly war that our country is fighting.
Yeah, it's a very expensive war that we are logged in with these Boko Haram guys. When you imagine the number of sorties that the Air Force embarks upon daily and how much the Air Force spends on fueling alone, then you can imagine that we are really being bled by this war. It costs the Air Force about 345 million naira every month to buy fuel, to buy aviation fuel for its fighter bombers. And that's because day and night these operations go on. If the army needs the Air Force at any point, they have to send maybe a jet bomber to the location to try to assist the surface troops to get the upper hand against Boko Haram. And some of the munitions that they also use, for example, the bombs that they drop on Boko Haram fighters, some of them are as costly as 12,000 euros. You know, between 8 to 12,000 euros for one bomb. The Alpha Jet, for example, uses 250 pound bombs. It carries 2 of them. So at every point when you are going to drop your weapon on these boys, you can be sure that we are losing millions of naira. So it's a very expensive war to prosecute, and you know it's the same way that war is viewed in other parts of the world. For example, during the Gulf War, if they lost an aircraft, they will not say that they lost fighter bombers on the aircraft. They will say that we lost so aircraft, and they are looking at it in terms of the money. So if the aircraft, the fighter jet costs $20 million, they will say they will look at it in terms of what
the value.
Yeah, the value of the fighter bomber. But we also lose troops, and some of the troops that we lose are among the best trained. In the last few weeks, we've lost commanders. In the last few months, we've lost commanders, soldiers of the rank of lieutenant colonel. These are the best trained people that we have. They are the ones who lead the fighters, majors, captains, and lieutenant colonels. So it costs so much to train a soldier up to that level. Some of them trained abroad. So when you lose such people, you want to quantify in terms of money, is a lot. There's what is called equipment casualty in war. Equipment casualty are of 2 types. Is either as a result of damage to the equipment or theft. Boko Haram, every time they attack an army base, they either damage the equipment that they don't need, they damage. The ones that they need, they steal. For example, night vision goggles. Every time they look at your armory and try to steal the night vision goggles because they like to launch attacks at night. So many times we've lost our night vision goggles to them. And there is also the anti-aircraft guns, the DHSK. The anti-aircraft guns that is called DHSK, we bought from the Russians. It's a fantastic equipment that Boko Haram, every time they need it. We don't use the anti-aircraft guns the way they use it. They use anti-aircraft guns on people. But anti-aircraft guns are meant to bring down an airplane. But Boko Haram has found another way to use it, which is very devastating. Right. And that is really, everywhere they go, they try to loot the anti-aircraft guns. So at the end of the day, when you look at the equipment that we lose to this war, the gun trucks that they favor, they like to use gun trucks, you know? So they first look at, oh, do they have gun trucks that we can steal? They steal. The ones they don't need, maybe like T-72 Russian tanks, they don't have the expertise to be able to operate such huge main battle tanks. So they would rather destroy.
Right. Well, that said, these are revealing and these are also worrying. Ismail, how do you read this? We might as well even follow the tail end of Babajide's comments now. Doesn't it also worry you that when this equipment are stolen, so to speak, how the Boko Haram terrorists even have the skill to operate them? Why steal? Obviously, they steal what they need. In other words, how then do they even get the training to handle these weapons?
If you talk about training, even when they started, when they had no much support from foreign lands,
international
these guys,
networks, right?
I mean, these guys were good at handling the guns. Not to talk of now that they have collaboration outside, the shores of Nigeria. If you talk about training, I think those boys too are well trained. Apart from them getting their own training, they also hire mercenaries. They hire mercenaries that they pay to help them fight. So the issue of them, being able to handle those weapons very well is not in doubt. Now, talking about the weapons itself, if you look at the analysis that was given based on the information released by the Nigerian military, we are talking about only January to May. And even the figure they gave us, the cash MI-35 alone is worth about 4 billion. So if we are going to take the aggregate of all the weapons that we have lost, assuming they are willing to come up with the facts, I'm sure we'll be talking in the region of much more than what we have.
Right. Wale, how do you read these figures?
Well, I think one thing we've learned in this is that war is an expensive game. It drains the economy. It's always better for nations to maintain peace because the cost of war is enormous. And it's compounded by the fact that the weapons that we use are imported. So we have to pay in dollars. They are not locally manufactured. I didn't mean that we have our own defense industry corporation that we can talk about reducing the prices of these weapons. So I think it boils down to the fact that we need a peace roadmap, because as the national economy flounders, hunger is spreading in the land. We cannot compound this by spending so much money on war, coming from internal dissent, not even external aggression. So if we have lost 4.8 billion just between January and May this year, we can imagine what we may have lost since 2010, to equipment, to servicing of equipment, and even human casualty.
And even if the localities have been any better.
Yeah,
with the war that's being fought?
The dislocation of the cultural values of the people, you know, the emotional stress those communities are going through, the trauma, you know, people have lost their wives, people have lost their children, people have lost their memory, you know. So it's really a very dangerous game. And that is why this idea of having violence spreading to other parts of the country, we need to rise up as a nation. That this problem is not a problem affecting people of Northeast alone. It's our problem as Nigerians. And we need a collective solution to be able to deal decisively with this problem.
All right, gentlemen, and to our viewers, we'll continue with John's Hangout right after this break. Stay with us. You're watching Journalists Hangout, and we're talking about the monetary value of the war on terror. Some really concerning statistics now, 4.8 billion naira that the country has lost between January and May this year to this war on insurgency. Babajide, of course, the army indeed isn't deterred. Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai was assuring his officers the other day that more weapons are being shipped in, so to speak, to the country to aid this war the country is fighting. But then there's been this talk that has been suggested on the table this evening about why not we toe the line of peace, seeing as this money is humongous?
Well, I don't know with the animals that we are fighting against. I don't think peace is an option. You don't, the way Shekau behaves, I don't think you can even get on a round table with him. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. These are extremists. These are terrorists. They will not negotiate with you. It's pointless. They believe that the only way they can get to Aljana is to pursue this line. So how do you then convince him to not want to go to Aljana? Because he thinks it's by killing his fellow man that he will get to heaven, where 87 virgins are waiting. So how do you convince him, no, don't do this? No, we've gone beyond that point. We can't negotiate with these guys because they are not prepared to negotiate. Ask them what really do they want.
They can't tell you.
They can't tell you that this is exactly what they want. Oh, people in today's world will say they want a caliphate of their own. Who is going to give them that huge expanse of land that they should go and form a caliphate of their own outside of Nigeria? After we fought a civil war for 3 years. So they are not, we can't negotiate with them. They are not prepared. They don't want to negotiate with you. They just want to be allowed to do what pleases them. Their own version of Islam, if they are, they can be called Muslims. Their own version of Islam is not what you can preach to any rational human being. That's why I keep telling people, we relate with Muslims, we grew up with Muslims, we grew up in Muslim communities.
Right.
And what these guys continue to preach is antithetical to the nature of the religion. Well, you then can't tell them that, look, this is wrong. Amongst themselves, they are even quarreling over, oh, should we kill Muslims? Shouldn't we be killing Muslims? Because that was why the group broke up in 2016, August 2016. Oh, Shekau continued to kill innocent Muslims. But the same people who are saying Shekau continues to kill innocent Muslims, they are launching attack, unprovoked attack on uniformed men. Anywhere they see a policeman, the Mama No faction must kill him, or they must kill soldiers. Once you are wearing uniform, it's the same group that killed innocent aid workers the other day. When the attack ran, they seized the doctor, murdered him, murdered the midwife. And they want us to believe that they are better than Shekau in terms of the way they reason. I mean, it's just, they are not the kind of people that you can negotiate with. Whatever we can do to crush them, we must just pursue that line of action. As I've said before, when people say terrorism can't be defeated, it's a lie. It's people who do not have a sense of history who will say that. Because we have countries that fought against terrorists and defeated terrorists. Sri Lanka is one of those countries. They fought against Tamil Tigers for 25 years, but the victory was delivered in the end. Algeria, here in Africa, fought against terrorists and defeated them. The terrorism grew in Algeria as a result of the fact that a Muslim group won an election. A Muslim party won an election in 1992, and they were not allowed to take power. So they became a full-blown terrorist group. And the military, or the Algerian military, one of the best two in Africa, crushed them. So it's possible to defeat terrorists.
A quick detour. How then do you explain the catastrophe that occurred on Easter Sunday in this Sri Lanka example that we have raised?
They defeated that terrorist group, Tamil Tigers.
And they enjoyed peace.
They defeated Tamil Tigers, and that was it. Now, we are talking about what happened, I think, in 2012. If there was another, just a terror attack, not linked to any group in the shape of Tamil Tigers, that it can happen. That they defeated Tamil Tigers that they fought for 25 years does not mean a terror attack cannot take place in your country. If you relax, they will take it to your door.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that was what happened, and the police chief resigned.
Absolutely. So
they've done well to fight a terrorist group. Remember, it's these Tamil Tigers people that killed the former Indian PMO, Rajiv Gandhi. Yeah. They killed him.
So as formidable as a terrorist group is,
they were eventually overwhelmed. They were killed right up to the last man. And we knew that group came to an end.
Ismail, where do you stand on this? Of course, even though reconciliation moves might be being explored, trying to, cajole the average resident in the Northeast, buying their confidence and all that, there still remains a war on the hands of our soldiers, and they're not willing to back out.
Well, yes, I think if the group were to be intact, one, as they were at the beginning, probably the option you are talking about may be possible. I use the word consciously. But as it is now, honestly, whatever we can do to crush them is what we should do. You see, we lost, I say it and I will continue to say it. As someone, I had said it before and I will continue to say it. As someone who was in Borno when Boko Haram started in 2003, we lost it when Yusuf was killed. Because as a matter of fact, before I left Maiduguri effectively in 2005, I had one-on-one discussion with Yusuf. Yusuf is somebody that can reason. As a matter of fact, while he was alive, Shekau has always exhibited that militant posture. But it's Yusuf that has always been calming him down. And my encounter with Yusuf showed me very clearly that most members of the group too don't even know the doctrine they are trying to pursue. What do I mean? In one of my encounters with him, I asked him, what exactly is the issue with education? And the argument, and the argument he put forward was that male and female are not supposed to sit in the same classroom to learn. That is, if they must learn. And I said, look, in the North, most part of the North, we have school for male alone. We have for, females alone. I said, so for me,
that's a non-issue.
This argument is a non-issue. He said, but they still mix together. And you see, the Algeria Mr. Baji talked about, as a matter of fact, the document used by that terrorist group then was what was brought to Nigeria, where they came up with this idea that you must stop working for government. That was where they borrowed it from. And their men started, but I think our government, we lost it at the beginning. Because if government were decisive from the onset, this thing would not have, gotten out of hand. But, well, we have lost it, and now we are fighting the war. I think we should not look back. Because the truth is that at some point, it was as if we were having upper hand. but our men relaxed. And because they relaxed, these guys, they came back. So whatever we are doing now, we must continue to be on top of our game without looking back.
We must learn lessons from what happened. They shouldn't have killed him. They shouldn't have killed Yusuf.
Yeah, they shouldn't have killed Yusuf.
Wale, we'll get your the final take on this subject from you. Just a few days ago, all the way from Slovakia Republic now, another batch of much-needed hardware finally landed, and the military representatives were on ground, to receive them. Where does that, take us to, even as we enter into another month, so to speak?
Well, if we get the best military equipment in the world, it's not enough to win the war against terrorism. There are so many things that are involved in winning a war. Apart from winning the war, you also have to win the peace. You have to win the mind of the people, whose values have been destroyed, the communities where those wars are being waged. So we need to go beyond just mere thinking that when you get all the best weapons, then you are going to win the war. And when you are talking about negotiating with people, I agree with what Babajide has said. But there are also instances where it's been very, very difficult to defeat extremist groups. For instance, the Taliban in Afghanistan. So each country has its own objective reality. And we have to, our response must be determined by our own situation. So in our own case, why do nations negotiate? They negotiate if they are losing grounds, because they have the higher moral authority to protect citizens. But when people wake up and they just waste human lives anyhow, then the state that is a bit more morally upright thinks there's a need to talk, to those that are disturbing the peace of the country. So I think as it is, we need to increase the tempo to ensure that the Nigerian nation will be able to defeat these terrorists without actually being on our knees.
Well, indeed, God help Nigeria and our soldiers who are fighting this very dangerous war. Well, the last hasn't been heard on this subject, but we need to move along to other critical issues in the country. Nigerian politicians and the clamor for endorsement are inseparable. The more endorsement they get to vie for certain political offices, well, the more motivated they become. As the race for the leadership of the 9th National Assembly gets hotter, the frontline candidate for the office of the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, and that of Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, are garnering more support towards victory. According to the senator representing Oyo North, Fatai Buhari, and the member-elect of the House for Ibadan North constituency, Musuluideen Akinremi, both Senator Lawan and Honorable Gbajabiamila now have enough support to lead the next National Assembly. Both men who spoke in Ibadan over the weekend said 51 APC senators have so far pledged to vote for Lawan, while 191 members are backing Honorable Gbajabiamila. Babajide, smooth cruise for both men. Would that be your assessment, even as the build-up to June the 11th continues?
No, it's equal to say it's a smooth cruise. I think the contest is even more difficult in the House of Reps, right. Where clearly Bago has refused to back down. They continue to say, oh, the North Central has never produced a Speaker of the House of Reps, but the North Central has produced a Senate President a number of times, and even produced a Deputy Senate President as well. Even before the dawn of the current Republic, Fourth Republic, we had a Senate President from the North Central. We had Yochayu, we had Senator Amebute, and we had Saraki for 8 years. We had for 4 years.
Mark 8 years, yes.
That's Saraki, yes, 4 years, Mark 8 years. We had Ibrahim Mantu as DSP for I think about 6 years. Okay. And
Aruna Abubakar.
So yes, the former MD of PPMC, the rich man, from Nasarawa. So why, if other regions, geopolitical regions are not saying we've never, how about Southwest, for example? Southwest has never produced a Senate president. So if other regions are not saying, no, we've not produced this, I don't see why the North Central that has produced the Senate president repeatedly should be insisting that they've, it has to be our turn, this and that. Others are really not doing that. So it's tougher for Gbajabiamila, Amila, in my view, than Lawan. And why it is tougher is because, yes, Goje, who we had was the choice of the governors, has not come out to campaign to anyone. He has not granted any interview. He's just there appearing to sponsor people to believe that, he's good enough for the job. But we don't see him come out to say, look, I'm interested. Whereas there's an Ali Ndume, who is interested, he has not hidden his interest.
Yes.
So, but for the Senate, all that Lawan needs to do is to continue to work on the PDP members. I think that a lot more PDP members will be interested in working for Lawan than they will be interested in working for Ndume. Because for Lawan, is much more pliable for the two sets of lawmakers. Unlike Ndume, once Ndume makes up his mind that this is where he's going, it's difficult to get him to change his mind. So, and these PDP lawmakers who have worked with both men, it's not a difficult decision to take, So I think that Lawan will get it. APC has 62 senators currently.
66?
No.
62? That's okay.
PDP 44. Then we have 2 from Imo that are not decided, Okorocha and Owajumogu. Because INEC claimed that Owajumogu forged its document. So that one is still in abeyance, just as Okorocha was accused of
similar
securing victory through intimidation. So this is there. Then of course the YPP man has been going around with Lawan. So you can say that he's actually a Lawan supporter. But even on the issue of that the people who have signed documents, politicians can sign any document, especially if money is attached. If the election is going to be by secret ballot, you can't give any guarantee that the politician who signed to support you will support you.
Right.
You can't give that guarantee. It's difficult with the politicians.
I'm suspecting that we'll come back here on this table now to to check out your predictions, check out your calculations. But then let's also run your calculations through Ismail and Wangwale. I'll start with you. How do you think it will be? How tight?
For me, I see initially Gbajabiamila was having some challenges, but in recent times he appears to have gained some grounds. For me, I think Lawa will even have more a challenge making it than Gbajabiamila, and these are my reasons. Ahmed Lawa and Ndume, the race is between the two of them, and the president and PDP, for me, appear to be those that hold the ace. What do I mean? 51 senators may have signed for Lawa in APC, assuming, without considering that it is correct. Those 51 senators will only vote for Lawa if Mr. President comes out to say so, to address them and say, look, this is my candidate. But if that does not happen before June 11, I tell you that those 51, all of them will not vote for Lawa. That is one. 2, PDP, wherever PDP goes, will also determine who carries the day. The only reason Lawa can win the race is if there is no contest. That is where APC decide that, look, this is who we want.
And APC has decided on who they want.
Well, it's neither here nor there. I say it's neither here nor there because to the best of my knowledge, I am not sure that the NWC of the party are sat to decide. It was a recommendation by the leadership of the party. And usually, when such recommendations are made, they go through the normal process. Let us recall when Oshimole was to be made the national chairman of the party. It was clear, and Mr. President even said so, but that he said he's not stopping any other person from contesting. And it was that language that Oyegun had. He had to back out. But in this case, we have not seen that type of forceful position from the party. I mean, forceful push from the party, and that is why Ndume is, is carrying on. Now, from my interaction with some of the senators, they appear to be more comfortable with Ndume than Ahmed Lawa. The reason being that they are already seeing Ahmed Lawa as somebody being pushed by some interest within the party. And that if that happens, it will be very difficult, especially with the utterances from the national chairman. All those utterances from the national chairman of the APC did not help Ahmed Lawa. However, I consider that, unlike what happened in 2015, Ahmed Lawa is pushing very well for this. Unlike in 2015, when he thought he could just sit down and the position will fall on his lap. This time around, he's really going out. And if what happened in 2015 is anything to go by, until the night of 11, one cannot be too sure.
Or 10th.
I mean, 10. One
Right.
cannot be too sure, because I remember in 2015, PDP took this decision to support Saraki around 12 midnight. The meeting was held in David Mark's house. I think Saraki came to David Mark's house around 1 a.m. or thereabout to come and thank him for that support. So PDP is still dilly-dallying. They have a role to play.
While that said, how do you think the pendulum would swing? There's also this question again of whether the likely intervention of President Buhari may just, end this bickering, so to speak, that lingers in APC.
Well, I think it is too early for the president to intervene now. It's not tactical for him to make his stand known at this stage. But that does not mean that he has no position. But I think it's better for more strategy for him to at least keep his card, at the back, at least for now. But I think one thing is clear. We are most likely we are going to have a National Assembly that will be better than what we had in 2015 in terms of harmony between the executive and the National Assembly. We are not likely to produce a Senate president that has presidential ambition and who is overwhelmed by that parochial aspiration. So wherever emerges, I think it's going to be far better in terms of relationship between the National Assembly and the executive. I also think that Lawan, to me, appears to be more visible. And I think he appears to have network, in terms of networking across the country, far more than Ndume. And when you talk about support from geopolitical forces, from the southwest, from northwest, those two areas, I think Lawan, to me, appears to have an edge over any other contestant. In terms of Gbajabiamila, like you said, it's difficult to predict because Gbajabiamila appears to be more visible in the media. But that is not enough. But I think as a person, if we are looking towards having a National Assembly, a House of Rep that is vibrant, that is led by a conscientious person in the midst of the people in that house, I think Gbajabiamila is a great asset. I see him as a great Democrat. He's sound, he's a motivator, he's a great negotiator. And when it comes to logical talks, and he's also excellent in debate. So having such a person, and I think he's a true federalist. He was the one that sponsored the bill for state police. Right. So I think having a combination of the two, to me, would be a blessing to APC. And most likely, it's going to be a blessing to Nigeria.
All right. Babajide, why are we even still having an argument on the system of voting? Because right now, it appears all eyes have turned to the clerk of the National Assembly, that's Mohammed Sani or Moluri. We understand that Alhaji Ndume is pushing for secret ballot voting, which is provided for under the standing order. But then we are seeing his strongest contender, or his closest contender now, that's Lawan, pushing for an open ballot. At least that's what that's the reports we're getting now. Shouldn't it be, clear, follow what the rules say?
Well, for those who want to go against the wish of the party, secret ballot is the way to go. So I believe that the House, if you do secret ballot, that's people will be able to freely choose their leaders. And the House, the Senate has not been properly constituted, so everyone will sit where it pleases them to sit on that day. They would not have been assigned seats. So there's no way that you can monitor who voted for who on account of their sitting arrangement. So I think that at the end of the day, the secret ballot would decide the thing. 2015 can only happen if Goje gets in the race. Goje, from the beginning, had wanted to contest along with the current Deputy Senate President, But, the EFCC appealed his matter the other day. So I think he's more concerned about the fact that if that case goes against him and the Senate President, he could be jailed. So he's weighing his options. He's not coming out to let us know.
Yes.
Goje will have been a much more formidable opponent, than Ndume, because it will be more acceptable to the governors, being one of them and all that, being a former governor and all that, and he's a much more elderly person, and he has a calm disposition compared to Ndume. So this is the thing, but be that as it may, since he's not coming out openly to say that he wants to contest, I sense that he may eventually not contest at the end of the day. And since the PDP candidate is not likely to be on the ballot, the events of 2015 may not be replicated. I don't see that happening. So right. I wish them, the candidates, good luck, but I fancy the chances of Lawan becoming the next Senate president.
All right. That said, there'll be more on Journalists Hangout in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on TVC News for Journalists Hangout. Well, it's believed that punishing an offender for a crime committed can serve as deterrent to others against towing such line. With this, the question is, can one be tempted to say that the stiffer the punishment, the more people are discouraged from committing crimes? Katsina State, for example, where after suffering grave consequences of armed banditry, is thinking in this direction as Governor Aminu Masari signed into law the amended Penal Code of Criminal Justice System in the state, which makes kidnapping and cattle rustling capital offenses punishable by death. And according to the new law, rape now attracts life imprisonment. The question, though, lingers is, can this new law put an end to armed banditry in the state? What do you think, Ismail?
Well, the day I heard the news, I was very elated. Elated because I am one of those who believe very strongly that even to fight corruption in Nigeria, we may have to go that way. Because you see, the truth is this. I agree that there are some dissidents who, in spite of whatever they want to, but then out of 10, you may just find one. For me, I want to commend the Katsina State government for taking the bull by the horn. If you know the North very well, during festivities, they cherish Doba very, very well. But because of this cattle rustling, because of the banditry, the Katsina Emirate has announced the cancellation of Doba for this Salah. You know what that means? what it means is that most likely after Muslim faithful return from the mosques, they will just go back to their homes and sit down quietly without, you know.
And that's strange.
And that's strange. I'm sure they never had that. They have never do. If they do this salah without the doba, I'm sure for several years it will be the first time. The places I knew doba were cancelled during festivities was in Maiduguri and Kano during those days of Boko Haram, you know, attack. So I believe very strongly that the capital punishment will help to deter those who want to insist on tormenting innocent Nigerians.
Do you think it will work too, Wale?
Well, first of all, we need to understand why he took that decision. Katsina used to be a very peaceful state. It's where the president comes from. Suddenly, it has become so riotous, you know, traditional ruler, kidnapped, district head, violence everywhere. So I think he's under pressure to take a drastic decision, given the upsurge in violence. So we must appreciate his mood. Nobody will be in that kind of position and just watch. They took over the whole entire state from you. But there are 3 laws now. We're talking about forced rape. For me, I think we need severe punishment for rape. We have been so lenient in this country. You see people who rape, they just give them bail, sometimes 2 months sentence, 3 months sentence, sometimes even they go free. So we need examples. Rape is a traumatizing crime. You know, the victims never get out of that trauma. So I support very severe punishment. You know, in fact, we should commend him for that. Then on the question of cattle rustling and kidnapping, well, it has become so savage crimes. You know, people are being killed, people are being murdered. Children in one of the states, I think 6-month-old baby, I felt like crying. The mother and the baby taken away. So, but then we should look at it sociologically. Will these punishments actually bring an end? Right. Those who commit this crime, they operate from the logic of disrespect for constitutional authority. They have no respect for the Constitution. They have no respect for the law of the land. So they are not likely to respect any new law that is saying that we are going to kill you if you commit this crime. But we hope that at the end of the day, it may serve as a deterrent for innocent people that may likely be recruited by those who have already made up their mind to kill people, you know, in whatever manner they think they have to.
And if one also wants to, you know, enter the mind of Governor Masari, so to speak, left to him, one of this, the first crime now triggers the other. When you look at the twin crimes of cattle rustling and, you know, headers attack and, you know, and the like, so to speak. How will this answer, Babajide, to, you know, those living in the hinterlands? How will this, you know, ease their plight of, you know, having their areas under-secured?
Well, I think first and foremost we must create an environment that makes it extremely difficult for crime to thrive. How do we do that? It's not simply by coming up with laws that prescribe capital punishment. You have to put structures in place. The law enforcement must be top-notch. For our people in the hinterland, especially in the north, they are like abandoned people. I went to some of those areas. Look, if they kill people, even in 3 hours, you may not get to know. They have no means of communicating with the rest of the world. No mast. It was even Masari who said, okay, let's go and put an MTN mast in one of those communities in Kankara local government. Because the roads are terrible. You can imagine spending 3 hours on a road that, on a good day, if the road was well paved, it's just about 15 minutes. Then you can't reach them. No light, permanently they are in darkness. So when the enemy comes to slaughter people, sometimes it takes almost 24 hours before you even get to know that something had happened. It's the same thing in Borno State. Some attacks are not reported until way after 24 hours. So how do we reach these people? How do we protect them? I think the goal should be on protecting our people, improving our capacity to protect our people. When you have all that in place, look, simply coming up with these laws will not put an end to killings. No. You consider it's happening in South Africa, a life imprisonment, but people still take other people's lives. So let's find a way to improve the security of these communities. Because we've seen other states that have made kidnapping capital punishment.
Lagos, for example.
I think Delta, even Bayelsa, you know, but it has not come to an end in those places. So a lot of these ones that are kidnapping people in Katsina, they are not even Nigerians. Let's make our borders less porous so that undesirable elements won't be coming into our country to kill our people. We are so wide open to all comers that people just come in, kill our people, and then get away. We should make it extremely difficult for such people to come into our country and kill our people. Once we are able to do that, honestly, our people will be safer, and no one will be talking about what was it called? Having to prescribe capital punishment. In any case, the governors that are asking for capital punishment, how many of them have approved the taking of life? When there are so many cases in front of them, they can't even sign a death warrant. They don't have the heart that a George W. Bush, for example, had when that woman who eventually became a born-again Christian, when she was sentenced to death. And the Pope, another Pope, high pressure on George W. Bush. He was governor of Texas. George W. Bush went ahead, signed the death warrant, and said, "May the Lord have mercy on your soul." That was how Americans were alerted to the fact that this was a courageous leader. And they voted for him, became their president. He may not have performed as president, but at least he led them.
There's also even the stance of the country towards abolishing death penalty.
For our own people, if you can't sign death, if the governors are so faint-hearted that they can't sign death warrant, why are they supporting capital punishment?
Gentlemen, indeed, food for thought there. Thank you very much for all the cogent points that Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Ismail Omipidon, and Wale Adeoye. We appreciate your analysis all the time on the show. And that's our 7 for you today on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow again for another episode of the program, and watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms. Join on your screen on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Get and send us your feedback to our channel at Journalist Hangout at TVC News NG, at tvcnews.tv, I should say. Many thanks for watching. I'm Kemi Fola Adeyemo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.